Hey guys, today I have a book haul to share with you. So let's get going. I have 20 books that I'm going to be sharing here with you guys. You guys, I am so far behind on book hauls. It's not even funny. Many of these books that I'm about to haul for you are probably a good year and a half old at this point. That's how far behind I am. I don't know why I don't haul more often, to keep myself caught up. I don't know why, but yeah, if some of these books, if I'm hauling them and you're thinking, well, Jesus, they came out like a long time ago, that is accurate. So yeah, let's get going. I think there's a couple of books in here that I have read, but for the most part, a good majority of these books are ones that I have not read just yet, but I am excited to get to all of them sometime in the future. First up, The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn, and this is book 2 in the Bridgerton series. Yeah, as you can see from this cover, this second book is like based off of the second season of the Netflix TV series, and yeah, we're following Anthony Bridgerton and Kate Sharma and whatnot. I have yet to start the Bridgerton book series. I hear a lot of good things about them. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to this sometime in the future. If you don't know anything about Bridgerton, it takes place during the Regency time period, and yeah, following the Bridgerton family, and yeah, their romances and whatnot. Seriously, if you've not seen Bridgerton or heard anything about Bridgerton, where have you been? Next up, you guys, I don't have The Walking Dead, but I have The Walking Cat. Look at this. I need to get to this now. Look how big it is, too. This is a big, freaking, gigantic book. Dear God. Let me tell you about the plot of this book. Zombies roam the earth, and civilization as we know it is dead. When Jin, a young man trying to survive the chaos, rescues a cat from certain death, the unlikely duo sets off on a quest to find a mysterious island where Jin's wife may be alive. Witness the zombie apocalypse through the eyes of a fearless feline whose curiosity may yet kill him. A cat during the zombie apocalypse? Hell yes. I can't wait to get to this, you guys. When I first saw this cover, I was like, I have to read it now, please, because I'm a crazy cat lady. Next up, Pandora's Jar by Natalie Haynes. In Pandora's Jar, Natalie Haynes, she puts the women of Greek myths on equal footing with the men, with wit, humor, and savviness. Haynes revolutionizes our understanding of epic poems, stories, and plays, resurrecting them from a woman's perspective and tracing the origins of their mythic female characters. She looks at women such as Jocasta, Oedipus's mother-turned-lover and wife, turned Freudian sticking point, at once the cleverest person in the story and yet often unnoticed. She considers Helen of Troy, whose marriage to Paris caused the Trojan War, a somewhat uneven response to her decision to leave her husband for another man. She demonstrates how the vilified Medea was like an ancient Beyonce, getting her revenge on the man who hurt and betrayed her, if by extreme measures. And she turns her eye to Medusa, the original monster woman who had her hair turned to snakes as punishment for being raped. So yeah, if you can't get the eye, if you don't get it here, yeah, this is kind of just a series of like collections and I guess essays, really. Natalie Haynes kind of going through the stories of a lot of the women of Greek mythology, and kind of reinterpreting the sort of things from a feminist point of view. So yeah, this sounds really fun and interesting. Can't wait to get to this. Next up, Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. Edwin St. Andrew is 18 years old when he crosses the Atlantic by steamship, exiled from polite English society following an ill-conceived diatribe at a dinner party. He enters the forest, spellbound by the beauty of the Canadian wilderness, and suddenly hears the notes of a violin echoing in an airship terminal, an experience that shocks him to his core. 2 centuries later, a famous writer named Olive Llewellyn is on a book tour. She's traveling all over Earth, but her home is the Second Moon Colony, a place of white stone spire towers and artificial beauty. Within the text of Olive's best-selling pandemic novel lies a strange passage. A man plays violin for spare change in the echoing corridor of an airship terminal as the trees of a forest rise around him. When Gaspari Roberts, a hotel detective in the Black Sky Night City, is hired to investigate an anomaly in the North American wilderness, he uncovers a series of lives upended. The exiled son of an earl driven to madness, a writer trapped far from home as a pandemic ravages Earth, and a childhood friend from the Night City, who, like Gaspari himself, has glimpsed the chance to do something extraordinary that will disrupt the timeline of the universe. So it sounds like there's like three different kind of things going on in this book, and somehow they kind of connect in odd little ways, it sounds like. So it sounds super fun. It sounds like there's a lot going on with this book. It's not a very big book at all, and it sounds like there's a massive amount of things going on, so I'm kind of curious how it's going to work. Next up, The School for German Brides by Amy K. Runyon, Germany, 1939. As the war begins, Hannah, a young German woman, is sent to live with her aunt and uncle after her mother's death. Thrown into a life of luxury she never expected, Hannah soon finds herself unwillingly matched with an SS officer. The independence that her mother lovingly fostered in her is considered highly inappropriate as the future wife of an up-and-coming officer, and she is sent to a bride school. There, in a posh villa on the outskirts of town, Hannah is taught how to be a proper German wife. The lessons of hatred, prejudice, and misogyny disturb her, and she finds herself desperate to escape. For Mathilde, a German Jewish woman, the war has brought more devastation than she ever thought possible. Torn from her work, her family, and her new husband, she fights to keep her unborn baby safe. But when the unthinkable happens, Matilda realizes she must hide. The risk of discovery grows greater with each passing day, but she has no other options. When Hannah discovers that Matilda is hiding near the school, she knows she must help her however she can. For Matilda fears war with desperation. The women must take extraordinary risks to save the lives of mother and baby. Yes, this sounds super good. Next up, The Lost Book of Eleanor Dare by Kimberly Brock. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke remains a mystery, but the women who descended from Eleanor Dare have long known that the truth lies in what she left behind, a message carved onto a large stone and the contents of her treasured commonplace book. Brought from England on Eleanor's fateful voyage to the New World, her book was passed down through the 15 generations of daughters who followed as they came of age. 13-year-old Alice had been next in line to receive it, but her mother's tragic death fractured the unbroken legacy, and the Dare Stone and the shadowy history recorded in the book faded into memory, or so Alice hoped. In the waning days of World War II, Alice is a young widow and a mother herself, when she is unexpectedly presented with her birthright, the deed to Evertell, her abandoned family home and the history she thought forgotten. Determined to sell the property and step into a future free of the past, Alice returns to Savannah with her own 13-year-old daughter, Pen, in tow. But when Pen's curiosity over the lineage she never knew begins to unveil secrets from beneath every stone and bone and shell of the old house, and Eleanor's book is finally found, Alice is forced to reckon with the sacrifices made for love and the realities of their true inheritance as daughters of Eleanor Dare. Ooh, I love kind of the idea of this book that's kind of dating back to the mystery of Roanoke. I'm kind of curious if this book is maybe going to have its own little theory about what happened at Roanoke. Maybe, who knows. Next up, God of Neverland by Gamma Ray Martinez. I love the book design of this, so cool. Peter Pan is missing. Dear God, Neverland is in trouble. For adults, that might not matter all that much, but for children whose dreams and imagination draw strength from the wild god's power, the magic we take for granted in the real world is in danger of being lost forever. Such is the life of a now grown-up Michael Darling. Michael returned from Neverland with the dream of continuing his adventuring ways by joining the Knights of the Round, an organization built to keep humanity safe from magical and mythological threats. But after a mission gone terribly wrong, he vowed to leave the Knights behind and finally live as a civilian. He hasn't entered the narrative in years, so what could the Knights need from him now? The god of youth, Mapunos, or as he's better known, Peter Pan, has gone missing, and Neverland is now on the edge of oblivion. Michael realizes he has no choice and agrees to one last mission. Alongside the young knight Vanessa and some old friends, Michael embarks on the ultimate adventure, a journey to a fantasy world to save a god. Determined to stop evil, fight for Neverland, and find Mapunos, will Michael be able to save the magical and physical world, or will his biggest fear come true? Ooh, this is like such a really different, unique kind of telling of the Peter Pan story, so I'm all here for it. I'm very curious kind of what's going to play out. Ooh. Next up, The Wedding Veil by Christy Woodson Harvey. In the present day, Julia Baxter's wedding veil has passed through generations of her family as a symbol of a happy marriage. But on the morning of her wedding day, something tells her that even the veil's good luck isn't enough to make her vows last forever. Panicked, she escapes to the Virgin Islands to clear her head. Meanwhile, her grandmother Babs is having romance troubles of her own. Still grieving the loss of her husband, she decides to move out of the house they once shared into a retirement community. Though she hopes it's a new beginning, she doesn't expect to run into an old flame. So then we kind of go back to 1914. Socialite Edith Vanderbilt is struggling to manage the luxurious Biltmore estate in Asheville, North Carolina, after her husband's death. With 250 rooms to oversee and an entire village dependent on her family to stay afloat, Edith is determined to uphold the Vanderbilt legacy and prepare her free-spirited daughter Cornelia to inherit it, in spite of her deteriorating financial situation. But Cornelia has dreams of her own. Asheville has always been her safe haven. But as she explores the rapidly changing world around her, she's torn between upholding tradition and pursuing a future that lies outside Biltmore's gilded gates. Ooh, okay. So I'm curious, the present and the 1914 situation, I'm kind of curious how all that's going to kind of tie in and connect, because I'm not quite sure. This book is called The Wedding Veil, so I'm assuming in 1914 somebody's going to get married, that wedding veil is going to be important, and then in the present day that wedding veil kind of comes back up. I don't know. So I'm curious what's up with the wedding veil. Next up, I might be about to butcher this, Kaikiki by Vaishnavi Patel. I am very sorry if I am butchering that. Seriously, whenever I do get around to actually reading this book, I will definitely make an effort to figure out the appropriate pronunciation. So yeah, we'll just make do for right now. The only daughter of the kingdom of Kakaya, Kaki, she is raised on tales of the gods, how they churned the vast ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, how they vanquish evil and ensure the land of Bharat prospers, and how they offer powerful boons to the worthy. Yet she watches as her father unceremoniously banishes her mother, listens as her own worth is reduced to the marriage alliance she can secure, and when she calls upon the gods for help, they never seem to hear. Desperate for independence, she turns to the text she once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. With it, Kaiki transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and most favored queen. Ooh, sounds so awesome, you guys. And yeah, I think this is supposed to be some sort of retelling of the story from Ramayana, which I'm kind of vaguely familiar with. I feel like I read itty-bitty pieces from that, like, a very, very long time ago, but I can't tell you a damn thing about it, so I'll definitely have to do some research on that. Next up, Run Rose Run by Dolly Parton, of all people, and James Patterson. Bizarre. A young singer-songwriter on the rise and on the run is determined to do whatever it takes to survive. Every song tells a story. She's a star on the rise, singing about the hard life behind her. She's also on the run. Find a future, lose a past. Nashville is where she's come to claim her destiny. It's also where the darkness she fled might find her and destroy her. Fascinating, you guys. Seriously, I kind of really only got this because Dolly Parton, and I'm just really curious how this is gonna go. I've not really read any reviews about this. This could be a terrible book for all I know, but I'm just super interested to read a book by Dolly Parton and James Patterson, of all people, for a combo. Next up, this is a book that I have actually already read and reviewed on my channel, and this is The Murder of Mr. Wickham by Claudia Gray, and this is book 1 in this particular series. All you need to know about this first book, we're following the daughter from some characters from Northanger Abbey and the son of Darcy and Elizabeth from Pride and Prejudice. These two kids of these infamous couples, these two kids, they're invited to a party hosted by Emma and Mr. Knightley from Emma by Jane Austen, and things happen, and as the title suggests, Mr. Wickham winds up dead and murdered. So it's not a spoiler. This is like a mashup of all your favorite Jane Austen characters in one book, and we're trying to figure out who killed Mr. Wickham. It's fantastic. It's great. I loved it. If you love all things Jane Austen, you might want to pick this up. It was really fun and engaging, I think. Next up, A Radical Act of Free Magic by H.G. Perry. And this is book 2 in this particular series. Yes, called the Shadow Histories series. I'm not really going to read any sort of plot synopsis for the second book because I haven't even read the first book yet. I hauled the first book like a very long time ago. I'm kind of waiting for maybe this series to just wrap up and finish, and then I'll kind of binge it. But yeah, I think the gist of this series, it's taken place during like in France, if I'm not mistaken, and like under the rule of Napoleon Bonaparte, and yeah, there's like magic stuff going on. Like there's a history of or there's like a society of magicians and whatnot. I saw this series kind of being compared sort of to Susanna Clarke's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Like if you like that book, you'll probably really like this series. So that's kind of the big reason why I picked this up, because it kind of has a sort of flair like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, with like magic and magicians, and yeah, the historical setting, kind of having an alternative world building. So it sounds really cool. Next up, The Resting Place by Camilla Steen. The medical term is there's a word here I'm not sure how to pronounce. The medical term is prosopagnosia. I'm just going to kind of enunciate it as it looks to me. The average person calls it face blindness, the inability to recognize a familiar person's face. When Eleanor walked in on the scene of her capriciously cruel grandmother's Vivian's murder, she came face to face with the killer, a maddening expression that means nothing to someone like her. With each passing day, the anxiety of having come so close to a killer and not knowing if they'd be back overtake both her dreams and her waking moments, thwarting her perception of reality. Then a lawyer calls. Vivian has left her a house, a looming estate tucked away in the Swedish woods, the place where her grandfather had died suddenly, a place that has housed a chilling past for more than 50 years. Eleanor, her steadfast boyfriend Sebastian, her reckless aunt Veronica, the lawyer, all will go to this house of secrets, looking for answers, but as they get closer to uncovering the truth, they'll wish they had never come to disturb what rests there. Ooh. See, it seems like our main character, she has face blindness, that I guess she can't recognize faces. So that's I guess it's gonna be pretty pivotal, because she may be staring the killer of her, is it her grandmother? Yeah, she may be staring the murderer of her grandmother like dead in the face, and she won't know because she can't remember what his face looked like, you know. So that sounds kind of interesting. Let's see how it goes. Next up, Bravely by Maggie Stiefvater. This is a book that is set in the world of Pixar's Brave, following the character of Merida, who's like a Scottish princess of sorts in the story of Brave. I'm guessing this book is taking place sometime perhaps after the events of what happens in the cartoon Brave. And yeah, Merida is going out on some adventure, it sounds like, and she's running into like some ancient gods perhaps, and I'm assuming she's going to have to save the day like she does in Brave. So yeah, this sounds super fun. I love Merida. She's just such a fascinating, wholesome character. She has wonderful archery skills, so I'm assuming she'll put those to use in this book. So yeah, I do love the occasional Disney book. I'm a sucker for kind of cute little fluffy Disney books like this. It's a nice escape and get away from the more dramatic, angsty stuff that I read. So I can't wait to get to this and have some fun with it. Next up, Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And you guys, this book sounds really wholesome and cute. After Tova Sullivan's husband died, she began working the night shift at the Sewell Bay Aquarium, mopping floors and tidying up. Keeping busy has always helped her cope, which she's been doing since her 18-year-old son Eric mysteriously vanished on a boat in Puget Sound over 30 years ago. Tova becomes acquainted with curmudgeonly Marcellus, a giant Pacific octopus living at the aquarium. Marcellus knows more than anyone can imagine, but wouldn't dream of lifting one of his 8 arms for his human captors, until he forms a remarkable friendship with Tova. Ever the detective, Marcellus deduces what happened the night Tova's son disappeared. This octopus is solving a murder, dear God. And now Marcellus must use every trick his old invertebrate body can muster to unearth the truth for her before it's too late. This sounds great. I'm not sure how this is going to work with an octopus solving a crime. Let's see, but I'm here for it. Next up, The Fervor by Alma Katsu. You know, I've had experience with Alma Katsu in the past. I read her book, The Deep, which took place on like the Titanic, and there was like some supernatural things happening on the Titanic, and I actually ended up being very disappointed with that book. So I want to give Aomakatsu another shot. Hopefully this goes better than my experience with The Deep, because I was really disappointed with that book. So, 1944. As World War II rages on, the threat has come to the home front. In a remote corner of Idaho, Miko Briggs and her daughter Aiko are desperate to return home. Following Miko's husband's enlistment as an Air Force pilot in the Pacific months prior, Miko and Aiko were taken from their home in Seattle and sent to one of the internment camps in the Midwest. It didn't matter that Aiko was American-born. They were Japanese and therefore considered a threat by the American government. Mother and daughter attempt to hold on to elements of their old life in the camp when a mysterious disease begins to spread among those interred. What starts as a minor cold quickly becomes spontaneous fits of violence and aggression, even death. And when a disconcerting team of doctors arrive, nearly more threatening than the illness itself, Miko and her daughter team up with a newspaper reporter and widowed missionary to investigate. And it becomes clear to them that something more sinister is afoot. A demon from the stories of Miko's childhood, hell-bent on infiltrating their already strange world. Ooh. I'm definitely getting hints of like the TV series The Terror. Season 2 of The Terror focused on characters at a Japanese internment camp, and yeah, there's like supernatural crazy things happening in that show. So if you really enjoyed season 2 of The Terror, I think this sounds like something that will be your cup of tea, because that's really what kind of I gravitated towards with this book. Next up, this is a book that I have read and reviewed on my channel, and this is Electra by Jennifer Saint. And this is a retelling of Greek mythology from the point of view of 3 characters. We have the character of Electra, who is the daughter of the king Agamemnon, who goes out, you know, after Helen of Troy does her thing and runs away with Paris, and yeah, Agamemnon and his brother are pissed off about that, so it just gives them cause to go invade Troy and attack Troy. So yeah, Electra is the daughter of Agamemnon, and we're also following the point of view of Clytemnestra, who is the wife of Agamemnon, and yeah, Agamemnon does something that sparks the ire of his wife, and she's not too happy about it. So yeah, don't have a woman scorned in your life. And then the third character is focused on the character of Cassandra, who's like a princess of Troy, and she's kind of the one who often has like visions and whatnot. So yeah, we're focused on those 3 points of view of those particular women in the story of the Trojan War. This book, like I said, I already did a review of this book. I ended up being kind of mildly disappointed and frustrated with this book because I didn't really quite know why it was called Electra. I feel like it should have been called something else because we were focusing on 3 women. It's not just Electra. Everybody else has kind of equal page time, so the writing of this was kind of irritating and frustrating, and I kind of really didn't like the characters for the most part. But yeah, if you like Greek mythology, check this out if you want to. But yeah, this kind of isn't an entire recommendation from me. Next up, another book that I have read and reviewed, and that is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I love this book, you guys. Oh my god, this was brilliant. Seriously, if you love Silvia Moreno Garcia's Mexican Gothic, this is a must. Gotta read this. During the overthrow of the Mexican government, Beatrice's father was executed and her home destroyed. When handsome Don Rodolfo proposes, Beatrice ignores the rumors surrounding his first wife's sudden demise, choosing instead to seize the security that his estate in the countryside provides. She will have her own home again, no matter the cost. But the hacienda is not the sanctuary she imagined. When Rodolfo returns to work in the capital, visions and voices invade Beatrice's sleep. The weight of invisible eyes follows her every move. Rodolfo's sister, Juana, scoffs at Beatrice's fears, but why does she refuse to enter the house at night? Why does the cook burn incense at the edge of the kitchen and mark the doorway with strange symbols? What really happened to Don Rodolfo's first wife? Beatrice only knows 2 things for certain. Something is wrong with the hacienda, and no one there will save her. And yet she has to call on a hot priest to come in and like do an exorcism on this house at the hacienda. Seriously, I loved this book. It was fabulous. It was fantastic. It was gory, because it is a horror book. This is a horror book, you guys. It was gory and gruesome and genuinely really frightening for the most part. I loved it. Next up, I have Imperfect Alchemists by Naomi Miller, and this is actually a book that I got from like a blind box. I ordered I believe the company was called like the Historical Fiction Book Company or something, and yeah, they sent me a couple books in this blind box, so I had no idea what type of books I was getting. So yeah, this book and actually the next book that I'm going to be hauling both came from that same box. So yeah, this is about England, 1575. Young Mary Sidney is bearing a devastating loss while her father plans her alliance to Henry Herbert, Earl of Pembroke. But Mary is determined to make her mark on the world as a writer and scientist. As Mary Sidney Herbert steps into her new life with the Earl at his home, Wilton House, an unusual friendship is forged between her and her servant Rose, a country girl with a surprising artistic gift that will change their lives forever. Ooh, yeah, taking place in 1575? Great. And the last book that I am hauling is The Ripon Spurrier by C.J. Richardson. Like I said, this book, alongside The Imperfect Alchemist, they both came from like a blind box that was sent to me that I ordered, and yeah, I had no idea what the books were inside. So yeah, this book is, let's see, talented Spurrier Robert Gray has always admired his late father Alfred for taking part in the Pilgrimage of Grace many years ago, so he jumps at the chance to march alongside his own master in a rebellion against the heretic Queen Elizabeth. As a staunch Catholic, taking part in his holy war would be a dream come true. He did not expect that dream would put his wife Catherine and their unborn child in mortal danger. Harry, Robert's lifelong friend who lost his father on the same pilgrimage, suddenly turns against Robert, saying it was Robert's father who caused his father's death. Robert is hurt and angry that Harry would dishonor the name of the man who raised him as his own. He swears to kill Harry if their paths should ever cross again. Can a lifetime's friendship be repaired after such a blow, or will one of them die in the attempt? Ooh. So yeah, both of these books that came from that same blind box or whatever, I think they were perfectly chosen for me because they're both the type of historical fiction that I do enjoy. And yeah, I think they're both, kind of judging from their covers and just kind of the design of the books, I think they're both written by kind of up-and-coming authors perhaps, and yeah, kind of self-published books it looks like, which kind of the blind box that I got, like I said, it's from someplace called like the Historical Fiction Society or something. I think they specialize in you know, supporting up-and-coming authors and yes, self-published authors and whatnot, kind of getting their stories out there. So yeah, these two books were, I think, perfectly chosen for me because they kind of take place in the same general time frame. So you guys, that is it for my book haul. In the comments below, have you guys read any of these books? Do you plan on reading any of them? Any of these books that I should get to sooner rather than later? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.